It seems to be one thing after another, so we brought in Seth Kaplan of Airline Weekly. And Seth, even with all of this, you still think American could turn things around?
It can, and in the short term, if it's right about the fact that this latest news won't delay too many flights, I'm cautiously optimistic that things are starting to get a bit better. Taking a look now at some new numbers in this morning, and these numbers, by the way, are pretty much representative of a pattern that we've seen for the past several days. You see there, American yesterday canceled 11 flights. Now, look at those on-time percentages. Still much worse than the other airlines, but these are much better numbers than American itself had several days ago. That 11 canceled flights, that would have been closer to 100 just several days ago. So if things continue moving in this direction, at least we'll go from that situation where you almost felt that it was a crapshoot to fly American to where, yeah, maybe it's a bit less reliable than other airlines, but not too much less so.
So slow and steady progress, Seth.
Yes.
Even with that bit of good news, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are thinking about alternative airlines, but you say buyer beware, right? There's one option that can either be very good or a bad deal.
That's right, Todd. I think most people who fly from Miami realize that American is, of course, the biggest airline at MIA, but not very many people know what the biggest airline at Fort Lauderdale is. It's actually Spirit Airlines. Yes, Spirit, that airline famous, or you might say infamous, for very basic transportation. Not a lot of legroom, certainly no satellite TV or any of that. And they charge for absolutely everything extra. Now, if you play the game right, you can save money flying Spirit. If you don't, you might end up spending more on Spirit than you would flying a more comfortable airline.
Well, help us avoid those fees. Can you tell us a few specific tips we should do or avoid if we fly on Spirit to save the money?
Yeah, well, let's start with one that I don't think a lot of people know about. Just yesterday, I hopped onto their website and I said, what would it cost for a family of 4 to fly from Fort Lauderdale to New York round trip? And you see the fare, and take a look at this. When you look at what they show you, there's the flight, and at the bottom are some other taxes and fees that you can't avoid. But you see that passenger usage fee in the middle? Most people don't know that's actually optional, and you can avoid that fee by going to the airport to buy the tickets instead of buying online. Sounds strange, right? Generally, it's cheaper to do something online,
right? But
in this case, the only way to avoid that fee is by going straight to the airport. And you see, in that case, it would take you from $630 for the 4 down to below $500. Now, I should say, you cannot use coupon codes at the airport, and of course, if you're just one person, you might want to think twice before going to the airport, just to save, in that case, about $34. But if you're flying with a family, that's a lot of money. Little inconvenience to save it, but a lot of money to save.
Yeah, you would think you would get a discount for doing it online,
because you're doing the work for them.
You're not tying up an agent, of course.
Right.
Well, a lot of people, I'm sure, didn't know about that, but I think almost everybody knows that Spirit charges for carry-on bags.
More than for checked bags if you buy it in advance.
Yeah. Is there any way that we can avoid those carry-on fees? Any other advice for saving money on those?
Yeah, they were just back in the news recently by saying they're going to charge $100 if you show up at the gate with a carry-on bag that you haven't booked in advance. It is a lot cheaper if you do book it in advance. But so yeah, first of all, with those carry-ons, people think, well, what am I going to do? Now I have to pay if I check it or pay if I carry it on. But to be clear, it's carry-on bags that you actually have to stow in the overhead bins. You can bring a small backpack and stuff it as full as you want, as long as it fits under your seat. And in fact, my wife and I, just a few months ago, we flew Spirit, and unlike a lot of people, I don't like flying them, but if I can save a lot of money, I'll do it. She's a good sport. We stuffed everything in little backpacks, put it under the seat, and we didn't pay a dime for bags. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize, if you do book online and you're going through the process, it'll say, okay, now it's time to pick seats, just like on any other airline. But Spirit charges for all seat assignments, not just those premium seats, the exit rows and that sort of thing. But you do not have to book a seat in advance, okay? If you don't book a seat in advance, you're still guaranteed a seat on the flight. And in fact, believe it or not, sometimes you end up with a better seat, because if nobody paid for those very best seats, when you show up at the airport, they'll give you one of those.